Are you thinking about starting a Pokemon card store in 2026? Well, I'm probably going to save you a lot of money, time, and stress. In most ways, it is the hardest time to start a Pokemon card store. It is way different than what it was 5 years ago. Check this out. If you're new here, my name's Alex. I started Poke Legends TCG, an online Pokemon card shop, and we've done just over $125,000 in sales in 2025. Okay, so let's start with one of the more obvious things. You're almost certainly not getting an English distributor in 2026. We're still in a bear market. Distributors aren't able to supply their current clients. So what does that mean stores have to do? Well, that means stores have to sell foreign cards. And the really cool and fun thing about foreign cards, and when I mean cool and fun, I mean stressful and criminally, torturously difficult for stores to make it. That's what I mean by cool and fun. They're extremely volatile. So this includes Japanese, Chinese, Korean. Japanese is the most popular. I'll give you a great example. Mega Dream was the last set released for Japanese. At release, it was about $135 a box. And about 2 weeks later, it dropped to about $90-$95 a box. So we're talking like a 25% swing. That is not uncommon at all when it comes to foreign cards. And I'll talk about what that means for your margins later in this video. There's also lower demand for foreign when it comes to English. There are a couple reasons for that. One, we can't read what the card says, even though most of us don't play the game. Nobody knows why that's important, but it seems to be. The quality control is typically better for foreign cards than there is for English. Now, you would think that'd be better and be better for demand, but that just means the near mint cards are more rare than they otherwise already are for English. So everyone wants the hit cards, but they also want the near mint hit cards for grading and so on. So that just drives the value of the sets up. And also, this is probably the best kept secret in the industry. The other really cool thing about foreign cards is that there's basically zero barrier for entry. Yep, I said it. Basically anyone can go on Instagram or Reddit, whatever, find a verified seller of Japanese cards in Japan, right? It's pretty easy to find. And you can start buying Japanese cards, bring them into the States, and start selling them. And that creates this really fun combo where there's tons of sellers, fewer buyers, and there's this race to the bottom when it comes to pricing. Like, new up-and-coming stores are okay with just making anything on profit. Hey, a customer's a customer to them. Well, anyone in the industry long enough would say just making a sale isn't enough. I mean, you still have to make a margin. You have to make a decent enough margin to sustain your store long term. And that brings us into point number 2, which is margins are way worse than people think they are. So when it comes to foreign cards specifically, you're making probably a 10 to 15% margin if everything goes right. So, you're air fiving that you made 10 to 15%. You're air fiving because you're packing orders at midnight and no one's around you. Now, with the 10 to 15%, that's before platform fees, shipping supplies, chargebacks, right? That's if you sell the entire batch that you got, by the way. So let's say if you got a batch of 20 booster boxes from Japan. Let's say you sold 15 of them. You might think that that's good. Okay, you sold 15 out of the 20. You have 5. Well, the 5 you have left, more often than not, they're going to go down in price, which means very quickly you could be upside down on the other 5 that you bought, which will ruin your margins. So that means if you sell all of them, all 20, then you might make 10 to 15% profit. Like I said, fun, right? Aren't foreign cards just awesome? And you just makes you want to just snuggle them, right? So the other fun thing about volatility of Japanese Pokemon cards is volatility is at its highest at release. And that also is when demand is at its highest. So you can't just not get product at release. So if you buy too much, then you're going to lose money very easily because of how I just explained. And if you don't buy enough, that just means that customers that would otherwise go to you are just going to go to somewhere else, going to go to another store. So that's bad too. So you're always playing this game of how much should I buy, how much of a risk, how much of a gamble do I want to take? Because yes, you want to grow your store, but you also don't want to put your store in a position where you're losing too much money. So yeah, as you can imagine, I've had long conversations holding a Japanese booster box and explaining the love-hate relationship I have with it. So moving on to point number 3, and this is probably the biggest one that I want to emphasize on. A lot of people think that starting an LLC, starting a website, and then just buying some Japanese Pokemon cards or Chinese, Korean, whatever, putting on your website, that's going to be enough. That is absolutely dead wrong. So, and the reason for that are a couple things. One, because of the zero barrier to entry thing that I mentioned earlier. There's tons of sellers. Why would anyone buy from you? Not trying to be mean, but that's just the reality. So you have to create a reason for people to buy from you. And the way you do that is from content creation. Now, the really cool thing about content creation is that it's hard and it takes hours and hours and hours to get better at. It takes, you're competing against AI generated content, which is getting better and better. And you're competing against content creators and other store owners that have been in the industry for years. The cold fact of the matter is your content will make or break you as a store. And it's getting increasingly difficult to compete with the big guys. So taking myself as an example, I created content consistently for over a year. And pretty much every video I had got less than 1,000 views. It took me forever to finally get better with my content creation. And that was only after hours and hours and hours of studying, having just more conversations than I can count with, people that are better than content creation than me, frankly. It meant binge watching videos on how to create better content. So the thing I want to emphasize, it's not enough to just be a store owner. You also have to be a content creator too. This is the only way to build trust with customers and, like I said, give people a reason to buy from you. So make no doubt about it, this is not a fair fight. Consistency isn't enough anymore. And that's something that a lot of other content creators spout, by the way. I disagree. I don't think consistency is enough. You have to learn what hooks are, what pacing is, software editing tools, how to use those properly. Having conversations with other content creators and taking what works for them and applying it to your own stuff, and how to do that in a way that doesn't look like you're a copycat. And probably 1,000 other things. So now going into my next point, this is another thing that I hear about pretty often, and that's using your store's product to use as content. A lot of new store owners think that, hey, look, I'm not selling the product, it's just sitting, so why don't I just open it for content? Well, here's the problem with that. Like that margin I told you about earlier, 10 to 15%, for every one you open, for every Japanese booster box you open, you have to sell 10 to make up for the one you opened. I'm going to tell you this right now, that's not scalable. And it's not going to be able to sustain your business for long. Like, there are thousands of videos every single day posted about packs getting opened on Instagram. And also, it's not enough anymore to just pull a gold Mega Charizard on a video, if you're really lucky, and all of a sudden blow up. I mean, it's already been done hundreds of times. And look, there's nothing wrong with opening packs to a certain degree on, social media. But just understand, there are only so many ways that you can open packs. So it's really difficult to differentiate yourself from the thousands of other videos coming out every single day opening packs. So this creates this sort of deadly combo. One, you're making bad content. Frankly, there are thousands of videos of people opening packs. And most of the time, you're not going to get any hits because of, statistics. And two, you're losing money in a way that's not going to be sustainable at all long-term for your business. So if these points didn't scare you, which, look, if you're committed, nothing I said was going to scare you off anyways. But if you love Pokemon cards, you love doing this, my hat's off to you. That's all I got to say. And best of luck in 2026. I'm always open, by the way. If anyone wants to message me on Instagram, I always try to look at every message and reply to everyone that I can. I'm an open book. I'll answer, any questions you have. So more content soon, guys. Love you. Peace.